Hello, YouTube. Finally got around to the recording that I promised, where I was going to go over the checklist for 2025 SP Game Used AEW. Now, I will include a link in the description to this one, but I will say, as I got a chance to look through it, obviously we got a chance to take a look at kind of the previews and a lot of the mock-ups. One of the other things that I'll include on here is I've actually got the tab from Upper Deck's Facebook page where they include some of the images, some of the actual cards, so you can actually see what they look like. And since we're approaching the release date of this, it looks like it's going to be next week, I thought now would be a good time to go over the checklist from my perspective of it, and I'll take a closer look at some of it with you. And I will say, in a review of the checklist overall, I found myself kind of semi-surprised with the lack of surprises. It's one of those things where the checklists are done so far in advance that you kind of expect that some names are going to be left off of this, and then there's going to be some carryover names that obviously haven't been around on AEW television for quite a while, and that is to be expected just because these checklists are made so far in advance and you need the autographs, you need memorabilia, you need all that stuff. Obviously the focus on this one is the memorabilia portion of it, and like I said, we're going to show some of the mock-ups on here on this page, but then we'll also be able to take a look at some of the scans that'll actually show you what the real cards are going to look like. And I think if you're not used to this from the sports side of things, and hockey, this series has been around for a while. It does have memorabilia in it, quite a fair number of it, and obviously there are going to be parallels of it, several different types that are going to look very similar to it, but I think it's still going to provide a good challenge and a lot of fun for you, especially if you collect certain characters or you should like certain designs. I think there's going to be plenty in there for you. So I'm going to scroll down here through it and show you a couple different things, and the base set is going to be 100 cards, so you got 80 standard, and the last 20 of them are what they call authentic rookies, which is actually kind of funny if you look at the checklist itself, and I'll show you some of the names on there. We're going to skim through this, and I'll go through the first section kind of quickly, but at the same time, you're going to see that the names on there are not really that surprising. You do have a number of parallels in it. It shows 5 different ones here: red, gold out of 99, rainbow out of 25, magenta out of 10, and black one of ones. So you've got multiple variants of it. And then you do have multiple versions beyond that, where you've got the autograph, the memorabilia ones, the autograph memorabilia, the premium memorabilia, the purple autographs out of 5, autograph premium memorabilia out of 5, gold autographs 101, rainbow autographs 101, and autograph tags 101. If that seems like quite a bit, it's actually pretty standard, and it's kind of in line with what SP Game Use is in the other sports. So here's a mock-up example of what the Hangman looks like. Again, I'll show you some of the actual scans so you can see what the real version of it looks like in comparison to that. One of the big kind of interesting draws on this, and by the way, they're all sticker autos. It kind of maintains with a lot of what Upper Deck does, although they do sneak in some uncard autos there in a few instances, and I'll show you again when we get into it. But there's going to be stuff like the dual, triple, and quad autographs, and there are a couple of them that I think are going to be kind of interesting. Now, looking at this mock-up here, and she is on the checklist, sort of, is going to be Mariah May. Obviously, by this point, she's already been in WWE for quite a while. Again, going back to what I said earlier about carryover names, she's not on the base set, but she is included in a couple of the checklists, specifically mostly in kind of the autograph section of it. So you'll want to take a look at the checklist closer to be able to kind of see that. And I think you can download an Excel version of it as well, so you can kind of sort through the different characters in it and be able to find whatever you're looking for. But obviously something like Timeless Tony Storm and Mariah May, this combo makes total sense. Like, thematically, it just makes a lot of sense. They had a great storyline that culminated in the end of Mariah May's run with AEW. So if you're collecting either or both of them, this is a great card. This would be a great chase, and Mariah May is included in a few other cards in there as well. And there's some other folks that are going to be included in the checklist from that perspective. So here, just speaking personally, obviously you got the Britt Baker card here with the kendo stick. That would be an example of one that I would be looking for. She is actually on the checklist for this as well. Strapped in with John Moxley there, a piece of the belt. That's included in there as well. We're focusing on the different types of relics. It is SP Game Used after all. So you've got that in there. Supreme tables, supreme turnbuckles, tag team rope relics. There's a lot of different variants on here. The turnbuckles is an example right here. I'm just glossing over a lot of this because there's so much stuff on here. Then there's the banner year, which is an interesting idea. I'm not a big fan of it in the sports side of it, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't mind the autograph variants of it, but whatever. It's normal and it's included in it. The piece of the ticket is just kind of a fun idea. It's completely fine. And you do have an autograph one of one variants in there. Ring blends, which includes pieces of ring apron. And you've got autograph variants of those as well. You got the multiple different memorabilia pieces, including stuff like quads here as an example. And in cases like this, where you've got some of the better t-shirt pieces, at least it makes it look a little bit more colorful. It's kind of a fun card to be able to chase. It will make it a little trickier for you because if you are a character collector, for example, your MJF here, you're going to have to fight with the Osprey and Sturv Strickland and maybe even the Cope folks. So there's a combination of different ones you're going to have to do in there. Now, one of the ones that I get the appeal of it to a point, but I've never been a huge fan of it, is the Marquise. They're manufactured letters. So you could technically write out the wrestler's name out this way. So the Pac is an example of this. They're manufactured relics. They're not really anything. They're just kind of these cards. They do limit them a little bit, so that's kind of interesting. But at the same time, it's just kind of a weird design and idea. And it's one of those things where it's a carryover from what's happening in the sports side of things, where it happens in hockey and it happens in a lot of the other ones where Upper Deck uses this brand. It's never been one I've been a huge fan of, but it is there and it is an option if you want to kind of give yourself a little bit of a challenge. So let's get into the checklist here and I'll quickly show you. So what to expect in a box, just as a reminder, one autograph. So you do get an autograph per box. It is going to be a small form factor. It's like a one pack, one box product. It's one of those. So it is a high-end product. The box price isn't too bad relative to some other box prices, but at the same time, you're getting 7 total cards. So just to put it into perspective, one autograph, two memorabilia or premium inserts in total, one parallel of some kind, and 3 base cards. And that's the entire combination of what's in the box. So when it comes down to it, I'm going to kind of pre-order 2 boxes here and I'll open those up in the channel. I'll probably break it up into 2 videos so we can look at it. So we'll cross our fingers and hope we can pull something cool. It is going to be a feast or famine product though. When you're talking about 7 total cards, you are talking about feast or famine. You're going to get some amazing pulls. I think some of the cards actually look really nice and they did a good job with them. But that also means if you don't get the right combination of characters or the right different situation, you could pull some definite duds. So it can be very much a big victory, or you're trying to move a couple of the cards for scraps. So it's going to be kind of one of those things that you should expect for this kind of product. Now that said, looking at the checklist, we're just going to skim through it. We already talked about the different parallels. So you can see right off the top. One thing I think they did a good job on, I'll just give them credit for this, is that they did kind of pair the tag teams together. So just scrolling through, you can see Anna Jay, Dustin Rhodes, who right now is injured. So you're going to see a lot of names that are either not necessarily on TV all the time, like Emi Sakura is still around, but you don't really see her very often. Wardlow is obviously back on injury, so he's gone. Satnam Singh isn't really on television regularly. Britt Baker, obviously I collect, but she's not really on television anymore. It hasn't been for a long time. Queen Aminata's injured. Again, they have no way of controlling this. It really comes down to a timing thing. Regardless, you can see the 2 young bucks are right beside each other on the checklist. So Nicholas and Matthew Jackson, Dante and Darius Martin. So it's nice that they combine the 2, Austin and Colton Gunn. So great. That makes a lot of sense. One of the really kind of missing pieces, and again, it's a timing thing more than anything else, I would love to have seen a couple of names slip in there. It would have been nice to have somebody like a Megan Bain. A Megan Bain, I think, would have been a really good addition to a checklist like this. It would have added one more chase, which would have made a lot of interesting. Tekla might be too soon because she hasn't been around that long yet by the time this checklist was probably developed. Although Megan Bain is right on that borderline, but I guess she'll be probably in the next series because we obviously have seen that by the time you get to Allure, she is included in the mock-ups. So realistically, we're probably not going to see a Megan Bain card probably until Allure maybe. But then again, you never know. SP signatures might surprise us. So that's why I say this particular one doesn't really have a ton of crazy surprises in terms of any names, inclusions, or exclusions. But at the same time, that also means it's a similar checklist to what you would have looked at in the last several products. So I'll quickly skim through. Sky Blue, Chris Statlander. I'm just scrolling through to see if there's anything else that stuck out to me in this just additional scan there. We do have Mike Bennett on there, who obviously hasn't been around at this point. I don't think he's with the company anymore regardless. Yeah, so through card number 80, nothing too crazy. The authentic rookies is kind of unintentionally funny for me because you're calling them authentic rookies, but at the same time, Ricochet's been around a long time. Turbo Floyd. Camille obviously is included in this checklist, even though really I don't expect to see her in AEW at any point ever again. It's one of those things. Hers is kind of an infamous run. So her run in cards is actually longer than her run in the company. It's kind of weird. That we still get some Camille cards even at this point when I just don't think we're going to see her at this stage. But then sticking with the concept here, I understand kind of what they're going for, but like Bobby Lashley as an authentic rookie and Sheldon Benjamin, Deanna Purrazzo, Brian Keith, Okada, Shibata, Monet. Conceptually, I get the idea, but it's just kind of unintentionally funny. That said, I'm going to go into the autograph section here. This one is actually nice because it's got all these different tabs to break it up into these different pieces. Same thing. I don't really see too much in the way of really kind of crazy additions or subtractions. I think when you get into the autographs, though, that's when you start incorporating some other characters. And that includes the examples like Mariah May and such. And for the most part, so I'll really quickly use a search here, just kind of to show off. So here, you've got Mariah May and Tony Storm included in the out of 35 dual autograph. And then you've got the quad autograph, Sky Blue, Anna Jay, Timeless Tony Storm, and Mariah May. I'm not sure exactly how they came to that combination, but I do think that will be a very popular card. I think that's one that definitely people would be out there looking for. And then at the same time, you've got banner year autographs. So you can get a Mariah May there out of 10. In terms of names otherwise, a lot of these are just names that you would expect. They're included in there in these different subsets, but at the same time, it allows you to have different characters included for different autographs. Memorabilia-wise, I'm focusing on Mariah May predominantly because she's one of the bigger names, I would say, that's really no longer on the roster that's included in here. So the Fabrics Trios, she's included in that. And then at the same time, also Fabrics quads. So there you go. You've got Chris Statlander, Mariah May, Timeless Tony Storm, and Willow Nightingale. So I think that would be a pretty popular card to chase for a lot of folks. And then the banner year is also included in there for just the memorabilia version. I'm going to skip ahead for a second because in terms of updates, you also got these, I believe, if memory serves me, are all the on-card autos. So you've got Anna Jay, Darby Allin as a short print, Hangman, Moxley as a short print, Julia Hart, Mariah May is included in this, Marina Shafir, Tony Schiavone, and Willow Nightingale. So that's kind of an interesting one. And then you've got a tag team with Best Friends. Again, this checklist was made a long time ago, so I kind of get it, but at the same time, it's kind of fun, unintentionally funny. Then here under inserts, you've got the marquees included in there. And one thing I missed in the memorabilia that I do want to make emphasis on, I did make a video about it. We do have the All in Texas fork relic. So we've got a redemption card included where you can get the fork from the Jon Moxley Hangman Page from All in Texas match. So that right there is going to be, I think, the big chase of chases in terms of memorabilia. That's kind of an interesting one because it's going to be an oversized card. You are actually going to get a full-size fork included in it. So that's kind of a unique piece. And really that's the gimmick with this one. It comes down to having a bunch of autographs included. You saw there's a lot of different variations. There's parallels. There's a lot of those things included in it. Again, the name-wise, nothing too crazy that you haven't seen before. A lot of these are very similar to the last couple of sets, so you shouldn't expect too much craziness in that regard. But what is interesting is the different types of memorabilia that are going to be included. And that's where I think it's going to be interesting to see how people respond to that when they see different versions of memorabilia included in these cards. So with that said, real quick, I'm going to click over to Facebook because I do have the images included in here. And this is from Upper Deck's own Facebook page. They did create a gallery for these. So I quickly want to look at these because these are actual images, obviously scans that you can see. So here's an example of the banner year autograph banner piece of Sting. So right there from AEW Revolution, that's kind of an interesting looking piece. Here is the Mercedes Ring Blends autograph version out of 5. So again, that would be a pretty good chase as well with the piece of the mat. Similar to the mock-up, this is the actual physical version of the card. I do think it's kind of funny though. Obviously, we're looking at the image there, so you can already see the chipping kind of going on at the bottom. So I think these are going to be fairly condition sensitive. It's going to be interesting to see how it ends up being once you pull the cards in hand. Moving forward here, this Kyle Fletcher is a good example of kind of what I was talking about. So here is a great looking card. Kyle Fletcher obviously is starting to take off a little bit. He's starting to get a little more character development. He's got the championship. So there's a lot going on with him. So here you've got the autograph relic out of 5. So this would be a pretty good pull, definitely, coming out of one of these boxes of at least a character that is starting to get a little bit of development and movement. Now here's the Ty Mello, and this is a good example of kind of what I was talking about. So right here you can see on the actual memorabilia piece, that's the laundry tag. And not only that, this is the one of one variant. So right here, this would be kind of a big pull, kind of a sneaky pull, because Ty Mello is obviously popular, but at the same time, not as popular as some of the characters, but you're getting a laundry tag and you're getting a one of one out of it. So here's an example of what that kind of looks like. And again, you're getting different color variants as different versions of the autographs, as different versions of the parallels. Here's an example of the tag team rope relic. So you've got Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley. Again, this is a little bit more of the gimmicky one, but they do number it to 2, which is nice because it does keep it down in terms of not making too many of these, but at the same time, it's more of a unique memorabilia piece. So here's kind of your more straightforward, authentic fabrics. Orange Cassidy out of 10. Here's a piece of the ticket. So this is the one of one version with the autograph and the piece of the ticket included in there. Here's one of the dual autographs, which again, going back to how long this checklist has been in production, this actually makes total sense. But it's one of those things where now we're so far along in terms of Will Ospreay right now being out for injury and Kyle Fletcher moving on with the Don Callis family and that whole character arc that he's going on right now, focusing on other things, that you almost kind of forget that this was a key piece of that development. But these are still thematically appropriate. These two are linked very well. So it's kind of a cool dual auto to have here. And then here's an example of one of the ones that I mentioned on the checklist. So again, one of the last kind of Mariah May cards. I think this will probably be the last set that will include Mariah May. I'd be surprised if she's included an SP signature, although I guess it's possible. I guess depends on how many stickers they've got left over. But here you've got a quad auto. Tony Storm, Mariah May, Sky Blue, and Anna Jay. So that's a pretty good combo there that I think would be 4 separate kind of collector bases that would be interested in that one. Here's significance of Jeff Jarrett. Significance is kind of a standard historical parallel that is included in this kind of SP set from Upper Deck. Front row chair relics. So you've got a chair relic going on with Jamie Hayter. That's a pretty cool looking card. I've been picking up some Jamie Hayter cards, so this would be the kind of thing that I would chase as well. It's kind of my secondary PC that I'm working on. Ladder match ladder relic, which is kind of an interesting piece. That's kind of a cool idea. Again, going back to what I said earlier, you are going to get some more unique memorabilia pieces in there. That's part of the draw for this one. So stuff like this makes it a little bit more interesting because it's kind of a little bit more off the beaten path. But again, AEW uses a lot of weapons. We just had the blood and guts going on a little bit earlier, so that I'm confident that there's a lot of potential possibilities there that you could potentially include in a future set like this, because there's a lot of memorabilia that came out of that particular kind of a match. And even though it was a TV match, it was definitely quite the spectacle. So I'm hoping that the folks at Upper Deck were paying attention there and maybe grab some relics that they could include in a future set like this. Another example there was Switchblade Jay White. Again, somebody out for injury, but somebody included in this checklist because of the timing. And then here we've got the no disqualification with a coffin relic. A coffin relic out of 10. So right there, that's a nice differentiator. I'm pretty sure I can't think of the last time that I've seen a coffin relic included in any kind of a wrestling card set. And here are the autographs, the update autographs that we were talking about. That is an on-card auto. So again, with all the different sticker autos there, it's nice to have that as a bit of a differentiator, just to have at least something in it that is a on-card auto included as well. Here's the no DQ with the guitar piece relic. So with Jeff Jarrett, that's thematically appropriate. You get a guitar piece. You had a coffin relic with the no disqualification on the other one. In the mock-up, you had the Britt Baker with the kendo stick. So you've got a good variety of different kinds of memorabilia included in this. Now here's the Megan Bayne included in the matte relic. So I actually missed this one on the first scan through. So that's actually my bad. I forgot that it was on here. So even though she's not in the base set, that's kind of a weird choice. But they did include her in the insert set. So it's kind of the Mariah May thing, but in reverse. Whereas Mariah May is kind of on her way out, Megan Bayne is starting to get into the checklist. So I guess that maybe this was a late addition, and they were able to get her in there, even though she didn't make it into the base set. Although I think it's kind of interesting. I would kind of want her to be in both places, but it's still cool. At least now you've at least got a Megan Bayne card in here, so that it does provide a chase. And last one here is a Julia Hart, again with the update autograph. So again, on-card auto, that's a nice addition to just give a little bit of variety to allow you to have, because you are going to have an autograph per box. So it does allow you to have different versions and different possibilities that are included in there. So no complaints about having that as an addition there. So that's it. I wanted to do a little bit of a rundown through it. Again, for the most part, it wasn't exhaustive because the checklist itself didn't have too many surprises. The Megan Bayne one I missed on the initial pass through, but I did catch it on the images that were included thereafter. But regardless, I think overall a decent checklist. You're getting most of the main characters you want, which is great. Obviously, we want to incorporate some of these other new people as we get into it. I would look forward to a future version of this probably, where you do get Tekla and some of these other characters incorporated into it as well, maybe an Ace Austin. Again, just go through the roster and see who's included in more recent times, and you would love to see them included in something like this. We also have SP signatures coming up here in the next little while as well, probably in the next couple of months, probably in the new year. That would be kind of my guess at the moment. But for a mid-late November release, this will at least give us a little window here heading into the holiday season where we've got a product coming out. And it'll be interesting to see what the breaks end up looking like and what different kinds of things people end up pulling. I know I've got some stuff that I'm going to chase and I'm going to have some fun with. And what I'm really curious about is if anyone pulls the Fork Redemption, because I would love to see what that card ends up looking like in terms of real life, where someone gets in their hands, because it is going to be an oversized card and it is a redemption. So I'd be curious to see what that ends up looking like and what kind of response they get from the person who ends up pulling it. So with that all said, that's it for this one. More than likely, probably in the next week or two, right around release time, if I can get my way, I will probably grab at least a box or two at release or pre-order at least a couple, and then we'll go from there and we'll open them up and take a look. We'll take our chances and see if we can grab a couple of fun things, and then I'll be chasing after some of those singles as well. With that said, more videos coming up on the channel. I'm going to include the links in the description to both the images that I included as well as this checklist section where you can download an Excel spreadsheet and be able to get the full version of the checklist yourself. And I'd be curious to get any thoughts you might have on this one, because now we've been waiting for a little while and finally we're getting this product. It looks like we're right on the cusp of it now that we have the checklist and everything in hand. So we're going to get finally a chance to get a brand new product and some new cards out into the ecosystem. That said, that's it for this one. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks very much, and we'll catch you in the next one.